It's going to be a wild show today. You better put on your seatbelt. We got two of the biggest historians in this industry. We got Don Brockman. He's got a lot to talk about today. And Michael Folks and Donnie have a relationship that goes way back, gang. This is going to be a super fun show today. So strap in. We have so much cool stuff to talk about and talk about predictions. The three of us sat here in front of you guys for months and months and months telling you what was going to happen. Cold water year. Here we are. We are there. Don Brockman's so excited. His phone's ringing off the hook. He feels like he's running the sport fisher again. It is absolutely incredible. Michael Folks feels like he's back out there shooting inside sport fishing. Southern California right now is absolutely on fire. This is what we live for. This is what we're so excited about. We don't have to talk about 200-pound bluefin for an hour now. We get to talk about fish, right, guys?
We actually get to be able to let the children, the kids, our grandkids go out on the boat and enjoy themselves with their dad catching what? What we grew up catching, right, Michael?
Yes, sir.
Good old beautiful sand bass. And I mean, you know, this was this close to being shut down. And if it wasn't for all your listeners, David, Sport Fishing Association, us rallying, we knew there wasn't an issue. Listen, we were in warm water conditions. We had no anchovies. We have a cold water regime now. Look, all of a sudden we've got anchovies. The bait boats can't find a sardine. And now what we got is more sand bass than we know what to do with. This is right now, this is day six with full limits for all the boats out of Newport on 3/4 day, half day, and twilight. That's incredible. That has not been seen
in years.
It's actually 18 years. We actually look back the last time the fish were in the mud. But this isn't just happening here. This is happening all the way down to the Mexican border. I saw the post for Fred Hubert out of Point Loma Sport Fishing, just wide open sand bass. And you guys, these aren't just little sand bass. I think Donna Hansen from Dana Point just sent me a picture 10 minutes ago. 10.5-pound sand bass.
What? That's
like a 55-year-old sand bass they just caught. I hope they threw it back because it was a spawner.
Yep. Stop it.
You know, but anyway, stop it. But anyways, hey guys, this is for real. And this is what we call about the ocean being cynical or whatever we want to call it. It just evolves. And that's one thing, as my dad said 40 years ago, son, if you ever figure out fishing, you'll be a millionaire, because guess what? You can't figure it out. It's all up to the currents.
Yep. I was just going to say, it's all the currents.
And something that's really cool is I got Michael Folks and I got Don Brockman here. This fish I've been telling everybody about for so long. This is the fish that built our industry. This is the fish that built inside sport fishing. This is the fish that allowed Don Brockman to retire at such a young age and go enjoy his life. This is our fish. Southern California, barred sand bass is our fish that built our industry. And I'm so proud of all of you for showing up at the meetings and making sure we were allowed to keep this fishery open, because Michael and I had a bunch of shows talking about how it's going to happen this year. Don Brockman and I, we talked to you guys till we were blue in the face, how this was going to happen this year. I talked with Tim Ekstrom yesterday. Michael, you'll be very happy to know that what he saw out the starboard window of the Royal Star, just inside the Tanner Bank 2 days ago, he saw an albacore jump out of the water, and he kind of knows what they look like.
Yeah, you think?
So you think? That's the only thing that's missing right now. That is and guess what? July 4th is the cue that we always went by for sand bass and albacore.
Yep. Absolutely.
Now I've caught sand bass as early as June 17th, and I think, God, what is the date today? So we're right around that mark. So let's hope. And I'm not even sure the San Diego boats know how to look for albacore anymore, except for Tim Ekstrom definitely does.
There's some guys down there that know what to
right.
Right. They just haven't had to fish the mud in a long time, or gotten to fish the mud in a long time.
Right.
It's like you said, you take your kids out. It's such an incredible species to fish. it's David was saying, it's the gateway fish to our Southern California fishing.
Yeah, and it's not about overfishing, guys. When they're fishing these things and the guys, they catch their limits, they're throwing them back. It's not about wasting the resource or whatever. We're just happy to see the fish, that the fish, exactly what we were telling the fishing game, the anchovies come, the sandbass come right behind it, and look at there. There's the evidence right there, right here in their face. I hope they don't use it against us because, guys, there was 6,500 sandbass just caught by the sport boats this weekend. That's a huge number. And you add the small boat fleet in that, it really adds up.
But something that they don't understand, Donnie, and we talked about this, Michael and I and you, we talked about this to our followers, and I talked about it in those fishing game commission meetings. This fish is a highly migratory fish, and it's being shown right now. If you look at all the pictures from the freelance and you look at all the pictures from everyone else's social media, this sandbass does not look like the sandbass you guys have been catching for the last 15 years. This sandbass belly is white as the logo for Promar. These are white-bellied sandbass. That means they traveled. They haven't been rubbing their bellies on rocks and kelp. This is a traveling fish that traveled up from Mexico. Like I said 100 times, and those commission people, the 5 of them that have never been out on a boat that sit there and make all the decisions, told us this fish is not migratory. Well, this fish didn't come flying out of the kelp beds and show up out in the mud, gang, by the billions.
Right. Well, now is the time, except they have no process. Now is the time they need to be tagging these things. Yep. But they're not ready. They don't have them. They don't even have it in the whatever you call it down the pipe yet. But they are out measuring the fish. There was a measure on the Sun Fun yesterday, but this is when they need to be tagging them. We need to prove that this fish is coming from Mexico because according to the fishing game biologist, the best science they have is the fish move about 15 miles. Everybody knows that is wrong. Maybe the local fish move 15 miles, but not the ones that migrate. And these are migratories. These are definitely, as we say, coming from the Mexican area.
They're white bellies. And yeah, Michael Folks, you made a bunch of shows back in the day because of this fish. It got Brockman's boat, all my dad's boat. Every boat was full. 60 people every day, 99 people on the Western Pride, 90 people on the freelance every single day because of this fish. Those of us that fish for a living in Southern California, we were able to make a living. And you and I and Donnie were talking before we went live. You were the guy that was driving this industry for us with your TV show.
Well, you guys, I just got to tag along and I just got to tag along and film what you guys were doing. You were the ones that were leading the way.
Hey, Michael, before I forget, and it goes out of my brain, remember that day when your freaking camera crew sat down because the yellowtail started biting at 3 o'clock and they were on their 9 to 5 thing? They says, aren't we going home now? I said, shit, the yellowtail just started biting. We're fishing till dark.
Yeah, we fished a 3/4 day boat with you until after dark on those yellowtail. I remember.
Yeah,
it was yesterday.
Got in at 8 o'clock at night. And Michael, do you know that that trip still plays on an auto field? An auto feed in Maui on a hotel freaking thing.
Does it?
On a hotel rollover in a
circuit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it cracks me up. That was 1985 when I first built the freelance. And David, just so you know, so the public doesn't know, that those days of 90 and 99 people on the boats, we don't do that anymore because of COVID. So we keep the passenger load down at around 55 to 60. So just so you know, there's more comfort on these boats out of Newport Beach now than they were back in the 80s and 90s.
Well, I'll never forget the time I called you, Donnie. I was just starting a series, just getting it off the floor. And I called you and I said, Mr. Brockman, Captain, can we, I want to come out and do a film shoot on your boat. And you go, yeah. And I go, yeah. And he goes, and you said, buy a ticket and do whatever you want to do.
I wasn't paid for it yet. I didn't know any different.
And you go, just buy a ticket and do whatever you want. And I go, well, I got 4 guys. You go, well, buy 4 tickets.
But we let you on the boat.
Yeah, you did. It was a great trip.
Yeah.
And the way you moved up that island during the day to find those yellowtail right there before we were supposed to come home. And then once you found them, you stayed on them until dark. I mean, that's unheard of.
I wasn't going to waste the squid.
No, that was unheard of. What about, tell us that story about one night when you went over the island, made squid, turned around and came back and picked up all your passengers, turned around and ran back to the island, and there were some Eastern some guests, from foreign guests that were on board that saw those squid in the bait tank. And when you went
they started taking the frickin' things out of the bait tank and started eating the dang things.
They were filling up their sacks with them.
I'm sitting there going, I spent all night long making bait, and yeah, those were the days. And you know what's changed from like when me and David, we went to make squid with the crew as just because of the love of fishing. If you ask your crew nowadays to stay up at night to go make bait, they want to know how much money they're going to make.
Yep. And
we're breaking the law because they're not allowed to work more than 9 hours a day on a boat anymore. I mean, what happened to the good old days?
24 hours a day. You get 2 hours of sleep in 24 hours, or every 12, you get 2 hours of sleep. You're doing good.
And just so everybody out there knows, all I needed was a Diet Coke to keep me going 24 hours a day. I didn't need anything else, nothing else. That's all I needed. And I got my 2 hours of sleep. And as long as the fish bit, we were good, golden.
Yep, absolutely. 2 hours on the way out, 2 hours on the way home, and you were good to go every 12.
Yep.
Yeah. That was funny that time.
Remember, David's going, man, I don't even need to be here.
Well, we're so lucky to have you on, Donnie. It's been a long time, buddy. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Michael.
Everything going good in your life, Donnie?
Everything's going great. Got 10 grandkids. We're living out here at Lake Havasu, like David said. I go fishing every morning. My wife goes at 5 o'clock in the evening. She goes, you going fishing in the morning? I says, why not? And she just shakes her head. And
yep.
And you know why? The reason she's asking that, because I got to get up at 5 in the morning because we're out here at Havasu and it gets hot. And she knows that she's going to have to wake up with me.
You got to be done by 9.
Yeah. No, done by 8 o'clock. As soon as that sun hits directly on top of the water. We got between the two of us, we had 25 fish. I had 17 stripers, and my grandson had 8 this morning.
Right on.
And that was all by 7:30 in the morning.
What were they biting on, Donnie?
Cut anchovies. It's this time of year. It's all on bait because of the water being hot. They don't move around much.
Okay.
October through December, it's all on the top water. It's all fun fishing, chasing bird schools.
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
Yeah.
So since we got Donnie here, I want to tell a little story about the 70s. My dad and I know it's hard to believe that my dad and I would have a little falling out, but we did. And Donnie had just purchased the Sport Fisher, and he said, hey, David, I'll give you a job. You can't work for your dad. I'll give you a job. So I went up and I was working for Donnie on the Sport Fisher, Michael, and Phil Tozier made Donnie the greatest deal in the world on the Sport Fisher because they couldn't get a 3/4 day run out of Davy's Locker. They just could not get a 3/4 day run. I don't even know how many people that boat held. It was round on the stern.
49 people.
We had 49 people on the boat every single day. It was insane. And Donnie made it so that the boat would run 3/4 day and then it would run twilight. And this is how animals we were. We would get that boat. We couldn't park at Davy's Locker, so we parked down by the crab cooker. And Donnie and I,
Delaney's restaurant.
Right, we'd get there we had to pick up our people over at the pavilion, and we'd get there at dark 30, and we'd all worked our ass off all day with Donnie that day. Then the next morning, we're back there at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm the cook, and Tom Butler and Mark were the deckhands, and Donnie, and we didn't care. No one ever thought, oh, we need a break. No, we just fished. It was just big time. And Donnie had the Twilight, and we would come into the dock, and Steve Lasley was running the Twilight, Michael Fultz.
Really?
Lasley was running the Twilight for Donnie.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. That is,
and
so
he would be
cool.
so mad because the Twilight left at, I think it was 6 or something, and we'd get in at like 6:15.
And he'd get all mad. Hey, so this is a story that, oh God, I hope Steve Lassie's not listening to this, but he ran the Twilight one night, and I had a paper meter, and then I had another meter that was like a flasher type meter with a little bit of paper graph on it. Right. Lassie couldn't get it to work one night, so he just threw it out the window. I get down to the boat in the morning, I go, where the frick is the other meter? And back then we didn't have cell phones.
Oh my God!
I had to wait till we got in, and I called Steve. When we got in, I said, "Steve, where did that meter go?" Oh, that thing was a piece of junk. I threw it out the window on the Twilight.
That way, it made Donnie get a new one.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yep. He said he knew if he threw it away, you'd have to get something better.
Bought a brand new one.
Remember the paper graphs, Michael?
Oh yeah, I lived on them.
Lasley would roll that thing out. He would roll that thing out, and he would draw pictures on it. And we'd be like looking for the Sandbass in the morning. After I got done with the breakfast run, I'd be up there with Donnie trying to learn, or just hanging out with him because he had phenomenal stories. And we'd be up there, and all of a sudden, here would come and go, uh-oh, what's the picture going to be today? And then here would come this picture. Lasley would draw, and it would just be the greatest picture. And he put it right at the 12 to 15 fathom mark, so Downey couldn't mark any sand.
And roll it back in and then play it.
And then, Dave, you know what the thing is? What I remember about the paper meter was the thing was when you were fishing rock cod, you could smell it when you were getting on the hard bottom. You could smell it. You'd start looking at the paper graph. But man, have those days changed? Man, yeah.
That was the Farr. Paul Farr wrote up that little audio system for it, didn't he?
Who?
Wasn't it Paul Farr?
That was Paul.
Yeah, that came up with a audio signal to match the paper signal, because it was so hard to keep an eye on it, and all of a sudden you hear the beep and you went, oh, there's something there. So Paul was the first guy to put audio to fish finder.
Any fish finder, right?
Yeah, we were using that albacore fishing back in the early 80s down in San Diego. Michael, you need to get a little closer to your mic because we can't barely hear you.
All right. I got this chair. I'm leaning way back.
But there's so much history right here with these two guys, gang. And if you got a chance, you can throw up a question. My good buddy Justin, who started his career working for you, Donnie, and he does the live fishing shows. He wondered, what do you think, Donnie? Do you think we're going to see those Humboldt this year? Everything's set. The table's set for that whole thing.
I just saw a video from Bay de Los Angeles that the Humboldts are there right now. So they went up the Gulf. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
And you know what's funny? The reason I brought that up is because there were so many myths about this Sandbass being missed out of our bite for so long.
Because the Humboldts ate them all.
They ate them all.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I will say one thing. I know one thing. I think they ate a lot of the small Boccaccios and rock cod and stuff, the small ones, because, man, those things, they were in that deep water for so long. But, I don't think they bothered this. I don't think they could catch a Sandbass. I think Sandbass are too quick.
Pretty quick.
One thing I'll tell you though, gang, for guys that drive the boats or own the boats, they'll fill up your wallet quick. People come.
I don't even know. I think they'd kick us out of Newport Beach if they ever came back. Because, man, we had to buy a pressure washer and clean the frickin' sidewalks of the streets of Newport. It was bad.
They're such a mess.
But you know what was cool? They made a city ordinance, Michael, that you had to get your squid cut on the boat. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But how do you really, the people like going, wow, we got to get them cut? That's the only way you're coming off the boat in Newport.
Yep.
And there was a big sign right above where you bought your tickets at night, because I came out of sport boat retirement and ran the Nautilus a bunch of nights just because of that squid. It's a wallet filler. That's for damn sure. And the boat runs full every night. It's an amazing animal when it shows up, and everybody wants to catch it and everybody wants to take it home. So right above where you bought your ticket, Michael, Donnie and Wiggy had a sign made that said, if you're going to keep these squid, you have to get them cut. It was right there above your head when you bought your ticket.
You didn't have to get them filleted, but they had to be cut.
Head and gutted.
So that freaking brown ink did not go all the way
over
to the parking lot.
Yep. It would too.
Oh, they dragged the gun sacks down the street by those $1 billion houses.
Oh yeah. So
you know what's funny is I guess I must be bored, but I watch a lot of those Facebook meta things. Man, you ought to. I mean, they're God, where is it? Japan and places. They're sitting there. These guys are out there. They're jigging squid, 1, 2 at a time. Carrying people on the boats doing that. They don't catch a lot of them, but they fill up a little cooler, a little 5-gallon bucket full of them at night. So,
go ahead, Michael. You had a question for Don.
I was wondering about Donnie. On one of the things about Sandbass that I always used to love is when you'd see that teardrop come off the corner of their eye. What did you call that? Was it just a teardrop or a breeding stripe, or what was
that's
that?
a breeding strike. That's the male breeding strike, because you got a female and a male one. Yeah, so that. I can't remember which one's the male and which is the female. I haven't been on a boat in a while, but yeah, it's they was that yeah. And then, but the calico bass, the calico bass get that yellow eye too when they get that spawning.
Do they really? I haven't seen that.
Golden cheeks. Their cheeks get bright gold.
Really? Yeah. Because the teardrop was always something I thought was so cool looking.
Yeah, that golden tear, or it's like a dark yellow or gold color in the Sandbass, and that's how you can tell. Those are the boys. They're all flared up. They're all ready.
See, David remembers. They're the boys. See, I knew it was one of the boy or girl, and I didn't want to be sexist here.
It wasn't it wasn't a trans fish.
No, it wasn't a transgender. That was the Trump would take care of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I play a little game with them on my guiding trips. I let everybody get a little squirt. Yeah, they're a bad man. Hey, gang, real quick, I got to show you something here from Promar, and then we'll get right back to this phenomenal show. Think of any questions you might have for Michael or Donnie. You guys, those of you that have been fishing on sport boats, you grew up wishing and hoping you could go with Donnie on the freelance, and those of you that grew up watching fishing on TV, you grew up watching Michael Folks Inside Sport Fishing. Don't forget about the history of sport fishing. Donnie and I will talk about that when we come back, but I got to show you a quick little deal with Promar. They're offering 15% off right now their products. Check this out real quick. We'll be right back with you in just a second.
Tim, he can help you.
Hi, gang. Your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen, with some more bitchin' Ahi Promar products. So, PromarAhi.com. Different products, but what we're talking about today is the lure that I always have in the spread, whether I'm fishing marlin or I'm fishing tuna or fishing bonita or fishing yellowtail and we're trolling. We always have the room because of the light. Wood light in there. Cedar plug color, the natural color cedar plug. This is by Ahi. Promar Ahi. You go to the store, look at the cedar plug variety. They have the daisy chains, but I'm telling you, you always have to have the natural wood in the pattern behind the boat. What eats these? Marlin, wahoo, tuna, dorado, yellowtail, bonita. People have even caught white sea bass on them, trolling along the edges of the kelp. I'm telling you, the cedar plug, the natural color, 6-inch. So check out the 6-inch natural wood colored cedar plug and all the other products over PromarAhi.com. Thank you. All right, Michael, remember the first time they tried to put that wood behind your boat fishing albacore?
I don't remember the first time we did it.
David, I want to know with the Promar, is it fine-tuned or you have to stick the toothpick in the back end?
It all depends. How they come out of the factory. If the guys had good break or a bad break. And Jimmy Decker and I, we have a video on the website, shows you how to tune them up. I mean,
Yeah,
it is.
I know, but it was so funny. I can remember when I was running the Prowler out of San Diego, but it was a couple of years where I went down there for the experience. But it was so funny that I had to send the galley cook over to the freaking store. We'd come in, get a box of toothpicks. What do you need them for? Don't worry about it. I need a box of toothpicks, because you had to tune that puppy in.
And once you spun it and it was set, then you had to lock it in, right?
Yeah, lock and load.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good lure, though. My gosh, I remember the first time they tried to stick one behind the seahorse, and I was like, no, you're not throwing that crap out behind our boat.
Good.
No, we're using the Zookers. We're using the zucchini. We're using the Mexican flag. We're using the abortion. We're not putting that thing out. Next thing you know, hook up. You go running down there, gaff the fish, and here's a chunk of wood hanging out of his mouth. You're like, oh, I guess we are trolling those things today.
Little bit of motion.
It's an amazing lure.
Yep.
But we need to talk more about the history of sport fishing, Donnie, because I don't know if you've had an opportunity to watch Michael's show yet, but it is an incredible breakdown.
I love it. I mean, I own one of the original boats, the Sport Fisher, 1938, the Matt Walsh.
Yep.
It is, but the thing is, when did I start? 1974 was when I started. So
74. Jeez.
Anyways.
Well, you sure transformed the 3/4 day experience in Newport.
It was dead. It was dead in Newport. They gave it to me. $15,000 was how I got into Davy's Locker.
Jeez.
That's it.
You transformed that whole experience.
Yeah.
For
Yep.
hundreds of thousands of people, Donnie. It's pretty cool.
It was incredible to watch the thing change up there. Donnie just kind of went, you got to come back in, Donnie. We lost you there for a minute. You're frozen up. He'll be back in a second. He's going to be back on the show, Michael. But
all right.
Yep.
As we move along here,
I don't know what happened.
You got to get off and get back on again. There you are. You're good. You're good. Forget it.
I'm good.
You're back. You're with us.
Am I there? Okay, I'm back.
Yes.
That was me.
So let's talk a little bit about that history of sport fishing. Some of the things that Donnie probably hasn't seen in the docu-series that Michael and I talk about it all the time. And it's so relevant to what's going on in the world right now. This
is over.
Are you?
It is. It is.
Do you want to be on a different show right now, Don?
No, I'm trying to get the kids to get off the freaking Wi-Fi so that it's not taking you away.
They're streaming a game.
Using up all your bandwidth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as we move along here and try to get through this closure of fishing in Southern California, you got to remember the United States of America was founded on the back of a bunch of hunters and fishermen, Donnie, and it's pretty incredible as you watch Michael's docu-series of what's going on in the world today. It's so relevant to what we're watching going on with all these people that hate America right now, trying to close everything. It's pretty crazy.
It is. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts. Well, and a perfect example of fishermen coming together as a community and letting the Fish and Game Commission know that we were opposed to the closure of the Sandbass because of their data was completely inaccurate. It had no scientific data or scientific proof. They were basing everything off fish counts. And like you said, 18 years ago, we haven't seen a bite like this in 18 years. But they aren't not extinct. They haven't gone anywhere. They haven't disappeared. They haven't been overfished. They just moved out with the bait, just like they're moving back in with the bait. So your campaign, David, and everyone, all your worshippers,
followers.
Yeah, your followers. Everybody rallied as a community to help protect our fishery, and that's what it's going to take. We got to continue to do that because we're not out of the woods yet.
And Michael, it's funny that I just want to put this input. A lot of David's people out there said we weren't going to make a difference. They've already made up their mind.
Right.
And that's how it normally is. But you know what? Social media, David proved it, changed that. And we all stuck together. And the commission, I want to tell you this, Michael, the commissioners actually said, there's too many of you here. We're going to make a decision today to tell you guys everything's going to be fine. And they almost changed their mind when they went to vote a month and a half later, but they had to be reminded that they'd already told the general public that was rallied around that day that, you know, okay, we're gonna study this. We're gonna go with the SAC recommendation, reduce the limit by 1, and try to study this to do more study. And you know what? That's where social media. That's where even just your fishing shows. That's where everything. I mean, it's just where everything's at now. You know, it's like me watching Facebook Meta with the you know, squid clips in frickin' Japan. You know, it's just how this world operates now.
Well, and it's a vehicle that allows us to have our voices to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to write a letter. You don't have to drive to Sacramento. You can do it right there on your phone, and your voice is heard, and it was recognized, and it made the difference. Every single one of us that took the time to log in and be at the meeting, you know, on a Zoom meeting, and let them know that we're opposed to this whole thing. It just inspired me to see how many, because you said, Donnie, it's like most of us don't, you know, what difference is my voice going to make? What difference cares what I think? Nobody.
Same thing when you're voting for the president of the United States. You don't think it matters. Oh, well, you know,
it does matter.
Decision's already made, you know, and so.
Yeah. It's time to turn this state
Only in California does it not matter because you're not allowed to have voter ID. No voter ID in the state of California. If you ask for it, you're going to a federal penitentiary. Think about that. That's got to make those of you watching across the United States go, why would they not want voter ID in California?
Because they've got 10 million illegal immigrants in here that are all going to vote for Democrats because they give them a free place to live and a free phone and free health and free everything else, you know? And that's why they brought them in. They said, listen, I've been reading a little bit about this, and it only takes, like some of these swing states, it only takes 20,000 people to swing it to make a difference.
That's right.
And if you've got 100,000 illegals in there that you know guaranteed are going to vote your way because you've given them, you know, you flew them up there, you give them a place to live, it's all free. How else? They're not going to vote for us.
And you know what? This is America. I don't care who you are or whatever, but if you're going to be in America, go down and get your citizenship. I mean, right now, I think it's too late, but I mean, it's like, this is, you know, if you're going to be in this country, support this country and be one of, be a citizen.
Be an American citizen. Be proud to be an American. I don't care what your ethnics are, but just be proud to be an American. And, you know, you go back, like David was saying earlier, our forefathers, the guys that wrote the Constitution, they did it out of a fishing club on the Schuylkill River back in 1732 or whenever it was, that they formed this little club to meet and talk about what it was going to take to declare our independence from Great Britain. And had these guys been caught by the British, they would have been hung for treason.
They'd have been dead.
They were dead. And George Hancock even said, he wrote his name so big on the Declaration of Independence, he said, I want to make sure that the king sees my name because I'll be the first one to go when they come for us.
Right.
But that was the guts, the determination, and that was the heart and soul of what built America. And these guys were hunters and fishermen and farmers. You know, they weren't politicians. It was, and it's amazing to me that our sport, which at the time was nothing more than just an act of survival, just like a hunter or a farmer. If you didn't hunt, fish, farm, you didn't eat. So these guys took a core act of survival, and as it grew, it evolved into a sport. But you know, the part that, you know, Benjamin Franklin and George Washington and Paul Revere, those guys were all members of the Schuylkill Fishing Club, and they were hiding out under that banner to do what they did to create this country. So the sport has been woven into the fabric of our soul since before, for generations. And we are under a lot of threat from the extremists, even though it's an 80-20 deal right now. They still, death through 1,000 cuts. You got commissions like our California Fish and Game Commission that they're not elected officials. They're appointed. And guess who appoints them?
The governor.
Yeah. And he's all about sport fishing.
Oh, yeah.
He's all about hair gel.
What I would say, every one of you from today forward, this is the number one question you should ask every single person that you come in contact with. And I don't see anything about it on the media. I don't see anything about it on social media. And it just blows my mind. Everyone complains about all these problems. There's one solution, voter ID, period. That should be what you all are talking about. That's what Donnie should talk about, Michael, myself, and anybody that has a voice. Why is there no voter ID? That's number one question. I don't care about any of the other problems, burning down the cities, burning down the state, burning everything down. Why do we not have voter ID? Period. That's it. All these problems that are going on in the world today will be fixed immediately if you have some accountability, which is called voter ID. Period. End of story, whether you believe it or not. And I hate to be political, but my dad told me a long time ago, if we don't get involved, son, there will not be any fishing. And we got so close. Don Brockman, Michael, and I, we saw it. And it was a mad panic. And my sister said, David, you got the biggest mouth in the industry. You got to get out there and help save this thing.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't know if my people would show up, but we showed up and we just saw that we changed it. So our new thing is voter ID.
Yeah, and think about it. When we used to have your fishing license, you had to have it on your hat or above your waist, visible if you were on the boat. You had to have a visible ID on your visible, not in your pocket.
So they could drive up and not climb on the boat and see your fishing license. Yes.
And that was to go fishing. But you don't have to have an ID to vote for who's going to determine what's the future of the state.
The country.
It's insane.
It doesn't make any sense, and nobody, you don't
David,
see any of the media talking about it.
Yep.
David, that's a good question. How come we don't have to wear the fishing licenses anymore? Did somebody say that was illegal?
Probably. I don't know. That's kind of weird.
Change it.
A lot of people were very worried and there's still guys our age that think they still have to display it. It was the craziest times. I mean,
but cool. You don't have to display it anymore. No. But yet the captain is responsible for everybody having a license on the boat. So
exactly. You get fined if I fish without a license on your boat.
Right. Exactly.
Somebody's got to be accountable. And it sure can't be the state. So
it's
your fault.
I'll tell you, Michael, this is something Donnie and I went through because we were both still driving boats when they made that. We'd have to stand at the top of the dock and be a policeman. And here's a family of 5 or 6 people, the tourists from Idaho that had never been on the water before. Nope, stop. Oh, you just spent $1,000 buying the tickets and renting the fishing poles and buying the bag of tackle? Well, you still can't go. And I have to stop you and tell you have to go back up in the office and buy a fishing license. You got to go spend another $500 or whatever it is when it's a family. It was pretty bad. I remember Donnie asking if he was going to get paid by the police department because he was being a policeman.
Yep.
Just some weird stuff going on in California, and we got to expose it on this show, going to those commission meetings. And Donnie had been to a bunch of them, and my sister, but for all of us that had never been, because first of all, they don't want me in the building. We already know that. They
don't want any of us in the building.
But they really don't want me. But we never went. They have them in Sacramento. They make it so it costs $1,000 to go to the meeting. But all of a sudden now it's a Zoom meeting. Here we come, folks. And now we got to see how sleazy the process is.
Yeah. What do they only allow? 50 phone calls at a time in the
queue. Yep.
In the queue. 50 phone calls in the queue. But what are you supposed to do? Just keep dialing in?
We were stacked up 10 times that
Which is against the law.
Yeah.
And that's only because they only paid for 50 on the Zoom call because they'd never seen that many people show up to a meeting before.
1 or 2 at most.
But not anymore. The whole thing changed. We changed it. Just like we can change this voter ID thing. I believe in my heart we can change it.
I do too.
And the whole state of California would change so dramatically. It
would flip overnight.
It's just amazing that the elections are already, before we even go to the ballot box in California, they've already colored California blue before we even make one vote.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute, how did that happen? How'd you do that?
Yep.
How'd you do that?
We'll see. We'll see. I think a lot of truth is coming out, a lot of stuff that's been hidden. I saw a picture of Gavin at a wine tasting event while LA was on fire. The mayor was out of the country, and Gavin was up there having a wine tasting ceremony in Napa for 3 days while our state burned. Really involved, really good leadership. I think we give him some Nair instead of hair gel, we wouldn't see him again.
Never. But I'll tell you one thing, Michael, you still got a good head of hair, and I ain't got any left.
I got lucky. I lost it all when I had cancer treatment, but thank
I
God.
know. That's what I mean. You grew back, though. I mean, I'm looking good there, Mike. Looking
Thanks,
good.
sir. Thank you. For an old man, I'm just glad to be on the right side of the grass.
We understand that. We all understand that.
Yes, sir.
Cubby wanted to say hi to both of you guys.
Well, I met a young lady a couple months ago named Laura Davitt, and she grew up on a little place between Corona del Mar and Laguna Beach called Crystal Cove. Scotchman's, real good spot to fish down there.
Right.
Her parents met down there in the 1930s, and she was basically born there. She grew up there. And then in the late 1990s, the Irvine Company signed a deal with the state of California to develop Newport Coast, 500 some acres. I mean, it was just amazing. So as they started bulldozing and terracing the hills behind Crystal Cove, Laura noticed that there's a bunch of stuff coming out of the drains that had never been there before. She said, "Where's all this stuff coming from?" And there were like 2 or 3 major, canyon drain, big pipes that went underneath the Coast Highway. Finally, she put on a miner's hat with a light and a flashlight, and she started crawling up this tube. So they call her the tube girl. And she got far enough up to the pipe where she looked up and realized that the Irvine Company had actually drilled down illegally and tapped into that pipe and was dumping all their construction stuff directly into that pipe, which went directly into the ocean. One lady got a cease and desist stop against a multi-billion-dollar development, the Irvine Company, and forced them to stop doing that and comply. And as it turns out, the Irvine Company not only complied, they went above and beyond anything that was required. And now all of that sewage and all of that runoff is piped back up into the Orange County septic system. None of it's going to the beach anymore. But we talk about how one individual made a difference. And that's just
that's all it takes. One person.
One lady said, I'm not letting them destroy where I grew up. And she saved it. Now it's preserved for eternity, basically. It's now a state park and a cooperative effort with the Crystal Cove Preservation Society. So one person can make a difference. So when you
guys know that we got these MLPAs or whatever. I don't know if you guys know, but Newsom made it a 30-30 law that they are still working on, and that means 30% cutback. I mean, we're already at 25% right now. The California coast is closed. He wants 30% of this coastline closed.
Yeah,
so
30. It was a United Nations deal to begin with. That's where they got all their funding.
Right.
And they got hundreds of millions of dollars behind this 30 by 30 thing. And it's it's an extreme 80-20 deal where you've got 20% of the people that are lobbying and controlling the votes that are trying to take away our
they're still working on it, the fishing game and whatever. I mean, it ain't gone anywhere. So we've got that battle coming too.
Yes, sir. And it's just so important, Dave, that your guys, all the people that are watching your show, continue to support these efforts that you present to them that says, hey, we need everybody to step up and do this. It's simple to do it.
Because without everybody, that we're all doomed. We our forefathers or whatever, we're we won't be able to fish. I mean, it's no fun. I mean, it's like it's already, part of it, is the wind is taken out of the sails. But we've learned to work around with this, whatever it is, the 20 or 25% of this California coast closed. But we've learned to work around it, and we're all getting along, and best available science. But guess what? They haven't even studied if it even makes a difference.
Right. How long have they been closed, Don? How long has these MPLAs been in place?
Oh my freaking God! It's at least 15 years now, David.
2012.
2012? No, it's been longer than that, hasn't it?
We're in 2025.
So that's what?
13 years.
Yeah.
I think it was 2012 is what I saw last time. I have to look it up.
So where's the data that shows what it's?
Yeah, they were supposed to have it all. If they didn't do any data in 5 years, they were supposed to open it back up, and they never happened.
So where's the data?
Yeah, there's no data.
Somebody's on here watching right now that can tell us exactly when the MLPs went into effect in California. But gang, this is all part of the deal. It's like Michael said, death by a 1,000 cuts. They're going to get it if we don't show up. They're just steamrolling us, and they hitting us from every angle. Don said something that kind of probably made my sister and the Everingham brothers stand up. There's plenty of sardines, gang. Don't ever think there's not. There's billions of them because they want to close live bait fishing in California. It's the dumbest. The stuff they come up with is absolutely crazy.
Yep.
So when Donnie was saying there's no sardines in the bait barge, that doesn't mean there's no sardines in the ocean. There's billions of them. There's billions of everything. And what we just saw with this white-bellied sandbass, gang, the ocean's cyclical. Now the albacore are going to show up maybe in this year, maybe next year. Who knows? Maybe before I die. But if the tree huggers get the way, they're going to close it. They're going to close everything. So we got to stay diligent. We got to stay involved. Don Brockman sends me stuff every single day about keeping fishing open. And like your grandkid said before we went live, Grandpa, why do you even care? You don't do it anymore. Yeah, he does. He goes fishing every single day. They want to close Lake Havasu.
And I want, just like I said at the Fishing Game Commission meeting when we were doing the MLPAs, just like what you want, I want something for my grandkids to catch. I don't want to. We're not catching the last fish. We let them go. We do this. I mean, it's all. We have all these size limits. We protect everything well. We're doing a great job. Let's, look at Alaska. I mean, you go to Alaska now. You get to keep one king salmon when you go fishing. I mean, why would you fly up to Alaska to go fishing for one fish? We got to be able to catch a few fish and have a good time and all that kind of good stuff. But, sometimes the politicians get ahead of themselves and they don't think.
We say it in this documentary film, Donnie, that you cannot hurt a fishery with a rod, a reel, and a piece of string.
Right.
I don't care how good of an angler you are. I don't care if you're the greatest angler on the planet.
Nope.
You cannot hurt a fishery with a rod, reel, and a piece of string. But you take millions of miles of long lines and gill nets and string them in circuit and navigate the planet a couple of times with them, you're going to do some harm. In deep water trawling, it's indiscriminate, wholesale, unsustainable slaughter. And to group the angler, the grandfather with his kid that wants to go out and fish for a day, in with that group of unsustainable commercial harvest techniques, it's insane. There's no comparison. There's just two different worlds. And yet the extremists put
us. Is that 1999 really, David?
Yep.
So I'm not even close.
Greg Warren just sent it to us. He looked it up. He Googled it. So we're 25, 26 years into this.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot longer than 13 years. Yeah.
Yeah. 26. Wow.
So let's see all the data on how successful this program has been to ban us from fishing these areas and what a difference it's made for the populations. I have a hard time imagining, because those fish, they got rudders and they got a motor, and they sure as hell don't know what a border is.
Yep.
No. And V, the reason we're talking about this, and I know my podcast goes all over the world. The reason we're talking about it is because all the other states in the United States go follow along with what California is doing. And so you guys in the Midwest there, You guys got to be diligent about this and help us. We'll help you. We will come to your Zoom meetings when they want to shut down your catfish fishing. We will show up in Florida when they want to shut down your red drum fishing. We will show up if you guys help us keep our fishery open. We'll show up to help you keep your fishery open. It's just, we're all in this together, no matter what state you're in. At the end of the day, it's the United States of America. Like Michael Folk says on the history of sport fishing, it is united we stand, divided we fall. It's so important in this fishing thing, gang. I hate politics. Believe me, I hate it, hate it, hate it. I don't even want to talk about it. It costs me a fortune every time I talk about it because all these social media platforms suppress my views immediately.
Yep.
Unless I'm talking about tampons in the men's bathroom, then I get 1 million views. But it's super important, gang, to stay diligent in this whole process. And V, as you guys come along and they want to close your fishery, talk to us. Share it with me and Donnie and Michael. We will help you guys. We will show up at your fishing game meetings. We will show up at your fish and wildlife meetings in Florida. Because when we're in a Zoom meeting, they don't know where we all can be from Florida. We all can be from Louisiana. We all can be from Oklahoma. We all can be from Iowa. We all can be from Alaska. We just got to show up. We got to show up, and you guys need to help us. Please help us in California, because especially those of you in the Midwest and the East with a brain, you're going, what in the holy hell is going on in California? Believe me, the three of us, we were born here, and we can't figure it out for the life of us. We're like, what happened to our bitchin' place? Michael Folks lives in the most magical city in the world.
Pretty cool.
Laguna Beach, California. Don Brockman used to have a beautiful home in Laguna Beach.
Yep.
But it's almost to the point where those of us that were born here, we can't even afford to live in our beautiful state anymore. And it's just absolutely crazy. The great Todd Manser's here. Hey, Toddy. So we just need everybody's help. Todd Manser's on the board of CCA. Todd Manser's working in the marine fisheries industry now. Don Brockman, you've been killing yourself, keeping fishing open. Michael Folks, you spend millions of hours in front of that machine editing videos. Why? So that you can help us keep fishing open. That's what we're trying to do for all of you. Yeah, Michael wants you to pay for his show. I want you to pay for my platform. Donnie wants you to buy a ticket on the freelance. But at the end of the day, if we don't have fishing, the three of us are going to have to go flip burgers at McDonald's, and I'll be damned.
You know,
They pay pretty good in California.
they pay pretty good in California now. It's about $21 an hour for minimum wage, David.
Way better than the freelance.
Oh, boy.
I remember
You
those
know, wait a minute, David.
days.
Yeah, wait a minute. Freelance has to pay the $21 an hour now.
No.
Whatever the minimum wage is, I don't know exactly what it is now. We have to pay the.
I was working for $18 a day.
That's what I was going to say.
It was 24 hours a day, and I made $18 a day.
Okay, so Michael, when I started on the Del Mar at a Pier Point landing, I made $7 a trip. So if I worked all 3 trips with Tom Mooney running the boat, I made $21 plus tips. Plus tips.
Yep.
But it was $7 a trip, and I took every one of those checks and I put it in the bank. And you know what?
Got the free.
David, this is going to date me. I was getting 22% interest at my savings and loan for the savings account, man. Do you remember those days?
Oh my God.
No, because I gave mine to the guy.
No, I know where you gave yours, to Mike Thompson and those things that was growing in his truck.
Yeah, I gave mine to the guy. There was no savings account in Dave Hansen's life.
I think we were getting 25 cents a fillet too in those days, weren't we?
15 cents is what, when I worked on the Del Mar, it was 15 cents a fish.
A fish, right?
A fish.
That's a fish.
When we started cutting fish, it was whatever you felt like throwing in the jar.
Yep.
And then I remember we went to a quarter of fish fishing rock cod on the Cortez and the Tanner with Wiggy, and staying up all night filleting rockfish for a quarter of fish. Now I look at these kids today, they're getting $5 for a fish. I'm like, what? You get what? And they don't, yeah, it's a different world. But like Donnie was saying, Michael, and you were there, Want to go squid fishing tonight? Absolutely. None of us, we would run. I remember Doug Harmon would go, no, I don't feel like going out tonight. We go, can you call Donnie and see if it's okay? Well, we'll go. And we'd jump in our cars and we'd all drive to Newport. And Donnie would pick us up at the Coast Guard dock on his way out. We'd be all standing there. Couldn't wait. What are we getting paid?
And I would give Harmon bait in the morning too, wouldn't I?
What would we get paid? Nothing. We didn't even think about the money. We're going to get to go with Donnie. He had it was the most magical thing, Michael. He had a skiff.
He had a little net.
And he had a net, a Lampara net that we used with our hands. And he would drive in a circle screaming at us, and there'd be fireworks coming out of the window. I don't know what the fireworks were all about. It wasn't even the 4th of July, but fireworks were flying out.
Those were called seal control devices.
I don't know. They were fireworks. We can't talk about that, but fireworks were flying out the window. We were laying out the net. One guy in the little
dinghy,
in the little rowboat, and we thought it was the coolest thing we'd ever done in our whole life, and we wanted to do it tomorrow night after we worked 20 hours in the day.
Yep, I remember
for free. And Donnie would pick us up at the Coast Guard dock, and he would just come in there. He wouldn't even slow down, and you just grab a hunk of rail, and you'd be driving out of the harbor as you're crawling on. Woohoo! It was the best time to be alive in California. It was the greatest time to be a little kid and getting to grow up in the industry. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time. And I'm so glad that we were able to save the Sandbass so that a bunch of
you know what, David? You know what's funny when you think about it? We never had any girls with us. It was just all us guys.
Never. You never see a girl on a sport boat.
No, and if there was, it was like she was the hottest chick in the whole world. She worked on a sport boat. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah,
I remember
the good old days. Unbelievable, but so much fun just growing up that way, gang. I know for a lot of you, you're sitting here going, I would never do that for free. Well, yeah. We know
it was the passion. We all had a passion, and it was all about having the best fish count, not in the harbor,
on the coast.
Your best fish count on the coast.
Yep,
that was all it was about. I mean, it was just every day. It was like that. Like Michael said that day when I fished till dark when his film crew was there. It was like, dude, we're gonna have a fish count today. We just kept fishing and fishing all the way till dark. So.
And Don Brockman revolutionized a lot of things for us dumb kids. We would watch it. He was just a couple years older than us, but he was just so much wiser because we would watch and he would sell. He had this in with a company called UFO, and he got these blue and white lures, Michael.
I remember him.
But he made the bigger one would get bit, but he made the guy sell him the smaller ones. You know why? The barracuda would inhale them and snap them off. And we would just stand there in awe.
Oh my God, David.
What?
Yeah. I said, oh my God, I remember.
And we would stand there in awe. He was the greatest marketer in the world. He was just unbelievable marketing machine. You want a barracuda, you got to have a blue and white UFO. And I don't know how
you can't put wire on it. You just tie it right onto the mono.
I'm not going to eat it if it's got the heavy line.
Oh, by the way, we've got more in the galley if you need them.
$5 a piece.
All day long.
Yep.
Buckets, 5-gallon buckets full of them.
Yep. So I would make like $1,500 a month, and then that like 3 years later, all of a sudden that company goes belly up. I go, how could you go belly up, man? Didn't I keep you in business? Oh, we can't get lead anymore. So,
yeah,
UFOs.
But it was so cool to watch because the barracuda fishing was good on the coast, but it was really good at Catalina. And Donnie was the first one in the in our little
with the sonar.
With the sonar, and it was just unbelievable. He had that sonar figured out. It was so fun. We would just follow him around like a bunch of puppy dogs waiting for the leftovers. And then I'm just going to finish this with one other thing. Don Brockman, myself, and Greg Beaker were sitting at Donnie's house one night when he had his house on the hill in Laguna, Michael. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting there and we were watching your movie. We were watching Tribute to Tuna, and we were learning how to tune our 2-meter radio. I'm just going to break this. Nobody even knew. Don Brockman, myself, and Beaker were the only ones that had this King radio in the fleet.
2 miller.
Okay. And it was the first 2-meter radios. No one else had them. I don't care if you had them. You weren't talking to any. If you had them,
You
You
didn't
weren't
know
talking to anybody because we had him and we were talking to each other. And
you didn't know
Don
what
goes,
channel you were on.
Yeah.
Don goes, hey, David, Craig, look at that. And we were like, what? And he goes, look at that. And he had the big screen TV at the time that came out of the ground. It was the most coolest shit we'd ever seen. Okay. And we're like watching, and he's going, look at those dolphin here in California. They act the same way. They act the same way. And we're like,
I knew you were going there, David.
and I'm like, they kind of do. And Donnie goes, all right, check this out. This is what we're going to do tomorrow. And Beaker and I were like, okay, what are we going to do? And he goes, we're going to go out. I'm going to get 100 scoops of bait from Dickie. Dickie was running the boat at the time, the bait boat.
Right.
He goes, I'm going to get 100 scoops of bait. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to stop on that dolphin and I'm going to throw a bunch of bait on it and see what happens. And Michael, he calls me on the 2 minute. He goes, you better get over here. And I go, how many? What are you talking about? He goes, we hung 90. I go, what? He goes, we hung 90. I go, how many did you get? He goes, we got none. But we hung 90. I go, what? He goes, you got to get over here and see this. And Beaker was on a San Clemente Island trip on the Thunderbird, and I was on the Seahorse on a 10-3 half day. And we're like, here I come. Dun, 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 dun. Donnie goes, okay, we just got out of another one. I go, really? What'd you hook? He goes, we hooked 90. I go, what'd you get? He goes, we got 2. I go, what the hell's going on? Dun, 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 dun. We're getting there, at our 9 knots. Here we come. Dun, 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 dun. He's in another one. He's in a ripper. You look at the boat, and we had like the garbage binoculars back then. You look at the freelance. It looks like an umbrella. The whole boat, every rod on the boat is bent.
Bent. Yep.
What'd you get out of that one? Oh, we got 3. What is going on? He goes, whatever you drop in the water, they eat everything. We're like, he goes, if you got any trolling rods, Hanson, just use those. I'm like, I got 4. The albacore trollers. I'm like, okay. So I tell Jan, and you know Jan, Donnie, I tell Jan and Jeff, they're on the boat with me. I go, okay, so we're going to slide in here. All I had was 60 rent rods and Jan and Jeff. And I go, you drop back the 80 pound. And we come in there and we hung 44 all at the same time. And then we had Donnie cracked the code, and Beaker and I and him were in it. We were in it. And then one day we got caught. We were in the fog doing it. Donnie had us following around in the fog, and we were doing it. And the whole fleet was trying to figure out what we were doing, and then the fog lifted. Remember that, Donnie?
Yes, I do.
I'm sorry. I get excited about fishing.
I know, but you know what? That was, like you said, we watched that thing and we saw those dolphin. I had no idea how to do that, and we just learned. And you had to pour the bait into them. But man,
you had to
it was a disaster with that many people. It just, like you said, you had to have 80-pound test and just hang on because they bit everything in the water for only about 10 seconds, and then they were gone.
Yeah, because all their friends were swimming around with hooks in their mouths.
Yeah, no, because they went with the dolphin. They went right back with the dolphin school.
Oh, yeah. What size yellowfin were those, Donnie?
Little one, 15.
I think they were about 25-pound average, David. They were pretty nice fish. Yeah, they weren't the little ones.
I don't know. I don't remember much about those days except that.
No, I remember because they were 10 to 12-pound fish in San Diego, and the fish up there under the dolphin were 25 to 30. I'm pretty sure they were big fish.
They were blowing.
That's why we couldn't land that many.
They were blowing that Sandbass gear up to blowing it up.
That's it. We had all spinning gear, and it just But that was back when we carried 90. Thank God we don't do that anymore.
And we carried 60, and Beaker carried 40 on the overnight trip to the island. But the boats were full all the time back then because we were allowed to fish.
We hung 90. How many did you get? None.
Yeah. The first time we got nothing out of it. Can you imagine listening to Donnie?
Off an umbrella bite on that boat. We hung 90.
But guess what? You can't because that was when the LA Times and the Register was doing the fish count. You couldn't we hooked 90 and got 0. You couldn't put that in the fish count. You had to have it in the paper with the fish.
Even though you got a few of them on there, that still made a difference. Yellowfin tuna. Oh my God!
And you were getting.
And back then we weren't smart. We didn't realize that we could limit the load, charge a little more money, and not have the issue. We didn't realize that. We do now, but we're smarter now. Like you said, we're smarter now and figured out we can.
RSW, a lot of things that have just changed the whole
Right.
thing.
Changed the whole industry.
I used to subscribe to the LA Times just to read the fish report. It was the only thing I got. I went right to the back of the sports page and got that little fish report every single day.
I thought that was the end of our industry when they stopped that. Because that was where we got our people. How else did the people know? And then all of a sudden, here comes Philip with 976 tuna, and then we had what came after Byte, 976 Byte or something? There was, but
yeah, it was Phil. It was 976 tuna that basically made that transition from print information, print data.
But the average Joe that lives in Riverside, the farm, whatever, they got no way. They don't know about that.
No, and there's no internet, and there was no cell phone, so there's no way to communicate this stuff. So,
right.
And Western Outdoor News was always a week late. They'd get all their
all that the green liar because the people would come out and say, "Well, why are we catching these?" And I said, "Well, that was last week's information." So
should have been here. Should have been here yesterday. Well, I think it's really cool, Donnie, that you and your grandson, that you're fishing every day, that you're taking them out, you're showing them the sport. Same with you, Dave. We continue. Somebody asked the other day, what can I do to help? I said, take a kid fishing. Teach a kid how to fish. And that's the best thing we can do to pass the baton along and make sure that we keep this fishery alive for generations to come.
What was funny is my grandson goes, Grandpa, why are you cutting the line? I said, that striper is bleeding. His only chance of living is for me to cut the line. And I go to him, I only use the regular bronze hooks because they'll rust out. I said, you use a chrome hook, they're not going to rust out. And I says, you remember that for the rest of your life. Yep. When you're shopping for hooks, do not buy a chrome hook. And he goes, well, how did you learn that, Grandpa? I said, well, because I don't want to kill fish. I want the fish to live, and it just takes a second to tie a hook on. Yep.
And it's so much less handling.
Those fish, even the stripers, those stripers are, when they're 15 inches, they're 3 to 5 years old. I mean, they don't grow up immediately. And got a sandbass. What they say, 5 to 7 years for 12 inches, David? Is that what it is?
Yeah, with no science.
Right. Well, yeah, but I think they have that science from the calico bass.
Right, but they're not the same fish.
I know.
I'm sorry. I only got to keep it real. Gang, the reason I mentioned the tuna thing with Donnie is because that's how important watching the history of sport fishing is with what Michael put together. Even guys like Donnie and I, we don't ever want to tell anybody we know everything. We're constantly on the learn. And we weren't at Donnie's house to learn about catching tuna. We were at Donnie's house to learn how to use this 2-meter radio that none of us had ever touched before. And lo and behold, what are 3 nincompoop fishermen doing that just got done fishing all day, covered in scales, hands all cut up, going out fishing? The next morning, we got a few hours off, and we're sitting at Don Brockman's house watching
fishing
Michael Folks' show while we're learning how to use the radio. That's how this industry is, and that's how cool the history of sport fishing is, gang. So if Donnie and I are watching it, why wouldn't you want to watch it? Because you're going to learn all kinds of cool stuff. So check it out. Check out the series. Stay involved in this industry. I don't care where you live. Stay involved. Get your kids out there, like Michael said. Go ahead, Don.
David, you never get tired. Tell the out there people, you never get tired of watching those videos because guess what? They were real. These are real videos. These aren't AI. This is the real thing, guys. And this is where sport fishing came from in Southern California when we had a real California.
Yep.
And no, Dave Burris, Donnie's grandkids have no idea who he is. He's just grandpa. They have no idea.
Grandpa.
Yeah. We stood in line to go fishing with him. Michael Folks wanted to film on his boat. Everybody wanted to fish with Donnie, not just because the fishing was fun, but the stuff that he would say from up there in the bridge was just, you would be blown away today. You couldn't get away with it. He'd be in HR all day, every day at Newport Landing.
Shooting fireworks out of the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, shooting fireworks out the window, David. You know that. Look at that.
Yeah, it was always just a great honor to get. I was so happy that I was on the inside and that I got to work with you when I was a little kid, and our love for each other has grown. I mean, when you come to Cabo, we hang wherever we are together. Michael Folks, whenever I'm in town, we try to hook up. It's just because of fishing. It's because of fishing, gang. We got.
Shit, I can't believe I only paid you $30 a day. I feel really bad right now, David, when you were slaving there on those hamburgers in the galley.
There was no $30 a day. I never made $30 a day ever.
Best burgers in the world.
I didn't make no $30. There was no way. Butler wasn't even making $30 a day, and he worked harder than all of us.
Oh my gosh.
But back in those days, it was not about the money, and it was about side. It was about the side money. You never even worried about what you were getting paid.
You just got to go fish. It was just getting to go fish.
And side money.
Yep. Work on the boat.
What's the tips like today?
Remember the pickle jars? We used to see how full we could get the pickle jar.
Yep. And there was
we put water in it.
It was all voluntary.
Yeah.
We put water in it, and the people would go, "Why do you put water in it?" Because if we do, it'll grow.
Well, I used to tell the people we put water in it so it wouldn't blow away.
Right. But George Clough taught us if you tell them it'll grow, they'll go, "What do you mean it'll grow?" Because now you see the water in there, put some more money in there.
Yep.
And then I remember, how many times did you burn the tips up in the oven or
trying to dry the money?
Trying to dry the money out.
Who is Cubby Pill?
Cubby Paul, he's captain forever. He won the Bisbees. He's a good
friend. Okay, that's right. I knew I recognized that. Perfect.
Kevin Cubby Paul. He worked down in Oceanside when you were down there, Donnie. He's been around forever. He's an old timer like us. Good friend of Michael Folks. Cubby's been around forever.
Good guy.
Yep, Mac Junior's right there.
That person that was asking if my grandkids know who I am. Yes, they know who I am, and every time we go to see my wife says, "Okay, no sex jokes. Let's keep it clean. Let's keep it straight."
You know how hard, David, I've had to work to keep sex jokes and pornography and the wrong words off this podcast. I mean, when we started, every other word was new. You know?
Yeah. My wife is on the floor right now, laughing over there right now.
All right, Randy. Yeah, because she knows.
He knows. Yeah.
No, it's
Randy said hi, David.
Hi, Randy. It's always fun to have you on the show, Donnie. And Michael and I do this every Tuesday, so hopefully we can have you back. It was a wonderful day today. As you can tell, the three of us, gang, are super excited about the history, the future. Hey, Randy. Hey, baby. We're super excited about where our industry is headed. Thanks to all of you allowing us to keep it open, right, Randy?
Yep, there she goes. All right. Well, God bless. It was fun.
Thanks for jumping on. Thanks for everything you've done for all of us, man. You've done a lot.
We're all in this together. We all do our part, and that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. We cannot close our eyes, and like Mike Thompson's. Sometimes you just want to throw your hands up and quit, but we can't quit. Nope. So,
hey, Cubby, I don't know if you saw it, but he said he worked with you on the old Matt Walsh.
I see him. I know. Yes, okay. I know. I remember. I knew I recognized that.
Yeah, he's this little guy back then, but hell yeah.
All right, God bless you.
He's down here for the last 40 years in Cabo.
All right. Love you guys. We'll talk to you later.
See you, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll have another great show with Bill Varney and whatever's going on in surf fishing. See you tomorrow.